Stand clear of the closing doors, please.
Good morning, Mets fans. I wish I had better news for you, but those are not the cards that have been laid out for us here today. It has been a really bad hour here on Tuesday morning for the Mets. I'm losing my mind. I am so frustrated by everything that just went down here. As the biggest breaking news as it relates to our New York Mets, Edwin Diaz's time in Queens is over. He has signed a deal with the Los Angeles Dodgers for 3 years and $69 million, and he is done with the New York Mets. Not only that, but of course, he is going to arguably the stiffest competition in the National League, making the Dodgers all that much better, a team that still somehow found a way to piece together enough bullpen help down the stretch and win their second consecutive World Series. And now they're getting Edwin Diaz, who we know as Mets fans, there have been some ups, there have been some downs, but for the most part, you can say ever since that 2019 season where he first debuted with the Mets after the trade with Seattle, Edwin Diaz has been one of the top closers in Major League Baseball, and he was excellent again this year with an ERA below 1.5, converting 28 of 30 saves, somewhere around that mark. And the Mets are losing a huge piece of their team today as he goes and joins the Dodgers on a 3-year, $69 million deal. I am so frustrated by this on so many different levels. 3 years, $69 million. We had heard for the last week or so that the Mets were reluctant to go to Diaz's asking price, which really the biggest thing standing in between them was going to a 5th year on a potential contract extension for Diaz. So I was understanding of that. I didn't want to necessarily sign Diaz for 5 more years if it was going to be $100 million. There were rumors that he wanted to get another contract close or equal to that record-breaking contract that he signed in 2022 with the Mets for 5 years and $100 million. Obviously, there were the opt-outs, and that's why he became a free agent here after the 3rd year of that contract. So I was understanding that, hey, the Mets don't want to go to 5. I don't really want to go to 5 if that's what it takes to get it done and keep Diaz. He's a proven closer here in New York. There have been so few and far between in Mets history that have been able to close the door at the end of games throughout their franchise's history. But for 3 years and $69 million, I am shocked, I am disappointed, and I am frustrated that the Mets would not match that deal to bring Edwin Diaz home. He sets an AAV record for relievers as far as the amount he will get paid on an average annual basis by signing this deal with the Dodgers. But I am just shocked by the Mets, who tout themselves as the richest team in baseball that will never get outbid by anybody else, that the Mets wouldn't give this same contract to Diaz or even sweeten the pot a little bit and make it a 4-year contract at the same AAV or with a club or a mutual option for that 4th year. I am really surprised by this. When I saw he signed with the Dodgers, no. Was I surprised? Absolutely not, because we have heard that the Dodgers were lurking this entire time, that they were interested in Edwin Diaz. We know that they had some bullpen issues last year. Tanner Scott did not pan out like they had hoped they would after giving him a big contract last offseason. And so it made sense to, on paper, Dodgers and Edwin Diaz. But when I saw the figures, 3 years and $69 million, I was taken back. I just could not believe that the Mets would not match that same offer. So I am very, very frustrated by this. Let's go to the chat. Stanley, is Williams now the team closer? I mean, at this point, yeah, he basically is the closer. And you know, last week when the Mets signed Devin Williams, I think a lot of Mets fans were really excited. Hey, Devin Williams in tow. Hopefully, he's only going to be the 8th inning guy, though, for Edwin Diaz. Not because I don't think Devin Williams isn't capable of having a bounce-back season. I really, truly do believe he is going to revert back to one of the top back-end relievers in baseball after a rough stint in the Bronx this past season. But we wanted Edwin back. We wanted Diaz to be closing out 9th inning, the games in the 9th inning. He's done it so many times now over the past couple of years with the Mets. It was a feeling of familiarity with having Edwin Diaz closing games. As much as of a roller coaster as he can be, walking the bases loaded, loading the bases with nobody out sometimes in a 1-run game, for the most part, Diaz got the job done. And so with Devin Williams now the only legitimate closer in this bullpen, yeah, he basically is the closer until the Mets make another move. And they have said that they are trying to make more moves and that another move will be coming to improve this bullpen. But this was a slam dunk for the Mets. 3 years, $69 million to a guy that has proven over the last 6 years that he can get the job done here for the Mets, that he can get the job done here in New York, who has been through the fire of the media in New York, of that horrible debut season in 2019 after the trade with the Mariners that brought over him and Robbie Cano. He has gone through the fire and come out unscathed, and now you let him walk to what is easily the stiffest competition in not only the National League, but in all of Major League Baseball. I am very, very disappointed in the Mets. And this all without even mentioning that at the same time, almost simultaneously, probably within 5-10 minutes of each other, Kyle Schwarber, a Mets target, re-signs with the Phillies. And so right now, it is not a good time for the Mets. This has been a really, really bad morning if you're a Mets fan. There's no doubt about it. That's how I'm looking at it. I thought that Schwarber was a complete pipe dream. Didn't actually think that was realistic, that the Mets would be able to pry him away from Philadelphia. But to have him re-sign with Philly and literally moments later learn this news that Edwin Diaz is going to the Dodgers, I am really not happy with the Mets at this moment. Mark Rapp, are you kidding me? The Dodgers, WTF. That's what I said. The rich continue to get richer, as if the Dodgers really need Edwin Diaz. But here we are with Diaz gone, and not only that, but going to, probably the best team in the National League, and of course, all Major League Baseball, coming off back-to-back World Series. This is not good for the Mets at all. Let's see. Undefeated says, why the Dodgers? Because everyone loves the Dodgers. They love to join the Dodgers, right? No one wants to actually have stiff competition. They just would prefer to go join the friggin' Dodgers. You know how it goes, right? Same with like Blake Snell said, tongue in cheek. If you can't beat them, join them. Bunch of loser mentality, if you ask me. But I'm gutted, says Jimmy James C. I am too. I'm frustrated. Let's see what the Mets do next. Relievers are finicky. They are very, year to year. You never know truly what you're going to get out of them, even out of some of the best relievers in baseball, Edwin Diaz included in that group. I mean, look, 2024, yes, he was coming off of missing the whole 2023 season after he tore his ACL in the World Baseball Classic, but he lost his closer's job twice in 2024. He very nearly blew game 161 against the Braves, if you remember, if not for the heroics of Francisco Lindor. So Diaz is just like any other reliever. He is year to year. You never truly know what you're going to get, but I knew what we were going to probably get from him, especially as a proven closer in New York. And that's just not something that the Mets have had historically throughout the franchise's history. Ever since 62, there are very few and far between guys that have been able to lock down games for this organization. And Diaz had proven that he was probably the best closer in the franchise's history. So, no doubt. I hear you, Jimmy. Let's see. Mama Lanite Cheyenne, what a chicken shit move by Diaz. Bunch of ring-chasing dorks. It's really embarrassing. It is. And I don't know if this is necessarily him ring-chasing. I really think that was probably the fact he got the highest AAV in relief in baseball history for a relief pitcher. I really think that was more what did it for him than, trying to go win a World Series. They did say in the early reports this offseason that he wanted to win a World Series. He was looking to compete. I don't know if he felt the Mets were, not on the right track to doing that, obviously, given what happened last year. But I am really frustrated by this, without a doubt. Let's go back to the chat real quick. We need to get a new closer now, says Undefeated. Yeah, well, you got Devin Williams, and, they signed him to a contract that's really not that all far from what Diaz just got. The Mets gave Williams a deal that's 3 years with a total value of $51 million. And meanwhile, Diaz just signed for 3 years and $69 million. So, yeah, you might say, well, it's an $18 million difference over the same term, 3 years. But Devin Williams is coming off a pretty not so great season with the Yankees in the Bronx. Meanwhile, Diaz is coming off an electric year for the Mets. And again, I continue to go back to this. Proving that you can close out ball games in New York is a whole nother animal comparing to being able to do it in Milwaukee, to being able to do it in Kansas City, to being able to do it in any of the smaller markets where some of these guys have great success, but New York can eat them up. And that was the case early on in Edwin Diaz's Mets tenure. And like I said, came through the fire, baptism by fire, whatever expression you want to use. He has come out and looked like arguably the best closer in Mets history to this point. Guys, I'm very disappointed. Leave this video a like. Really appreciate it. Subscribe to the channel if you guys are new. Daily Mets content, keeping you up to date on all of their moves this winter, all off season long. Thank you so much all for tuning in. Wasn't planning on doing a live here right now, but these are the cards that we have been dealt. Let's see. Jimmy James C says Stearns needs to make it happen. He's way too chintzy with the money, no doubt about it. I mean, look, I understand, like I said in the beginning, I was unwilling to give the 5-year $100 million deal or comparable to what Diaz signed in 2022, which is what he was rumored to want this offseason. But for 3 years and $69 million, you really can't get hurt by that deal. Even if he proves to be less effective by year 2 of that contract, you still only have 1 more year after that. At whatever AAV, what does it matter? There's no such thing as a bad 1-year deal. And I have faith that Diaz will be one of the best relievers over the length of these next 3 years, over the length of this contract that he just signed with the Dodgers. So I'm with you there, Jimmy. I am really frustrated by this. I am really surprised that the Mets would not end up matching this offer. Mark Rapp, they better get McGill from Milwaukee. Well, you know, we heard the rumor there, and I did not think that Diaz's market was going to move this fast. We had heard all about the Dodgers, but I did not think that, you know, on the heels of them having interest in Trevor McGill and the Mets calling the Brewers, that he was going to basically sign within 12 hours with Los Angeles. But here we are. Yeah, they better get McGill. They better get somebody, because as much as I like Devin Williams and have faith he will bounce back and be one of the top relievers again in baseball, there's no guarantee of that. And right now we are looking at a bullpen of Devin Williams, AJ Minter coming off a torn lat, Brooks Raley, who, yeah, was really great last year, but is also coming off Tommy John surgery after the 2024 season, or in the middle of the 24 season. And that's really it. Reed Garrett is out with Tommy John surgery. Tyler McGill is getting Tommy John right now as well. So this bullpen is barren. It looks a lot weaker than what I was expecting or what I was hoping just 12 hours ago with Diaz off the board. Jimmy James, Diaz probably wanted out, but they probably would have beaten that offer with a 4 to 5 year contract, I think. Yeah, I don't know. It's telling me that Diaz did want out. That's the only explanation. I don't know if he went back to the Mets for a potential match. I don't know if that was an opportunity that the Mets even had. I think it was Jeff Passan that broke this story. So let's go and see what he has to say, if he has any more details. But very, very frustrating for sure. Let's see. The only reason I can see is if they plan for a big starter. Well, yeah, maybe they plan for a big starter, but you know, what do you do when you just lost your top reliever, you know, your shutdown closer? Like, that's great that they have plans to maybe go get a starter, but you could have probably done both. You probably could have re-signed Diaz and acquired a starter via trade, such as Peralta or McGill, like the video I just posted earlier this morning. And now, you know, who knows what's going to happen here. But Will Salmon was actually on it. Great friend of the show who was on for a couple of hours the other day with me. Let's see. Closer Edwin Diaz deal with the Los Angeles Dodgers is for 3 years and $69 million. The Dodgers, who were targeting bullpen help this winter, get the best closer on the market, setting a new AAV record for relievers. So 3 years, $69 million. I guess that's what, $23 million per year. I don't know. Is Edwin Diaz worth $23 million per year? I would probably argue yes. And I would probably also say that he's going to be good for the length of that contract. That 3 years, it's really hard to have a bad 3-year deal for a reliever. Yeah, I get it. He's 32 years old, but I find it hard to believe that he's not going to, at the very least, still be a very effective reliever even by the 3rd year of that contract. So I am shocked that the Mets did not match this deal. I really, truly am. They have a huge hole that they need to fill, and they already came into this offseason with a number of holes that they needed to patch, and now they have a massive one in the bullpen. And you can spin it and tell me Devin Williams is going to replace him and he's going to revert back to his Milwaukee form, and that's great and all. Well, who's getting the ball to Devin Williams? The plan, hopefully, was for Devin Williams to be getting the ball to Edwin Diaz in the 9th. Well, now Diaz is off the table. So if you're going to tell me Devin Williams is going to be the closer, great. Build me the bridge to even get the ball to him now in the 9th inning. Because like I just said, AJ Minter, coming off a torn lat, may not be ready for opening day according to reports yesterday. You got Brooks Raley. Okay, great. So 2 lefties there. Who's their big right-handed reliever? Reed Garrett is out for the season with Tommy John surgery. Tyler McGill got Tommy John surgery. So who is that guy? We've heard that they have been talking to Robert Suarez and Pete Fairbanks. Are they going to sign for all that much less than what Edwin Diaz just got? I mean, they certainly will. This is an AAV record that he just set for relievers. But how much less, to the point where you're going to go for a guy that has never closed games or been a shutdown reliever late in the innings of games, instead of Edwin Diaz, who has proven that he can do it here in New York City? I am just really, really shocked and disappointed in the Mets for not making this happen. Maybe they didn't have an opportunity to. There's no word on whether he went back to the Mets with this offer or not, but it sounds like Stearns was standing firm the entire way, and now the Mets have lost their guy, and they lose him to easily the best team in baseball, making their mountain to climb in the National League even more difficult. So very, very frustrating for me, at least. Let's see. I can't read your name. 3705. That's it. Let's give credit to Stearns to lock Devin. Well, yeah, again, I'm happy about that. But like I just said, who's getting the ball to Devin Williams now? You better go sign Pete Fairbanks or Robert Suarez. There's got to be another legitimate back end guy. King One Supreme, don't blame Diaz, blame the front office. Yeah, I'm not mad at Edwin Diaz, man. I never get mad at anybody for going and chasing the bag. I mean, I'm frustrated he went to the Dodgers. I'd prefer him gone to an American League team or just out of the picture if he wasn't going to re-sign with the Mets. But the guy got the bag. The guy got a good payday. I am just really surprised that the Mets didn't get an opportunity to match, or maybe they did and they didn't. And if that's the case, then yeah, I'm frustrated with the Mets front office, because I'd sign this deal every single day, twice a day, and every freaking time on Sunday. But let's go back to the chat. Let's see. He didn't expect me to read what? M. Night Shyamalan. I don't know what you're talking about. Eric Poltavian 5106. Now what? I mean, like I said, Robert Suarez is out there. Pete Fairbanks is out there. Two guys that have been among the best closers in the game for the last couple of years. Pete Fairbanks spent most of his career with Tampa. Suarez obviously came up and has been with the Padres. He's a late bloomer, so he's a little bit older, but has been super effective. But, you know, you got to find a guy that's going to be able to hand the ball off to Williams in the ninth at this point. I'm assuming that Williams is probably the closer. I don't know if they'll do one by committee, if they bring in Fairbanks or Suarez, but this seemed like an easy move for the Mets to do, an easy signing, and unfortunately they don't get the job done here as he is headed off to Los Angeles. EJ Red 3, New York Brewers. Yeah, it kind of feels that way, doesn't it? Mama Night, I can't read it. Shyamalan, 20-ish million a year for someone who pitches 60 innings a year is a lot. Yeah, I mean, it is $23 million a year, but let's be honest, they're the most important innings. Yeah, I get it, 60 to 70 innings a year for a reliever or for a closer, but they're the most important innings, those high leverage late innings, 8th or 9th inning, where you need a shutdown inning from a guy. And we had seen it year after year with Diaz. Again, I admit, with some bumps in the road, no doubt. It has been a roller coaster with Edwin Diaz, but I said it at the beginning of the offseason, more even than re-signing Pete Alonso, I thought that re-signing Edwin Diaz had to be the utmost priority for the Mets in the winter. And unfortunately, he is gone, and it is a double whammy because he goes to Los Angeles. He makes the Dodgers even stronger. One of their maybe only weaknesses this past season, in which they still won their second consecutive World Series, was their bullpen. Did not pan out with Tanner Scott like they thought it would. Well, now they just added Edwin Diaz, and if he pitches anything close to what he just did for the Mets this year, the Dodgers are just going to be an unbeatable team once again. So, Tatsuya on mine. No need to talk about Edwin Diaz to not play in the World Baseball Classic in 2026. Yeah, there you go. We don't have to worry about him playing in the World Baseball Classic at this point. Good point. Kev Chada contacts Stearns failed catastrophically last offseason and trade deadline. Same old incompetence. I mean, you know, it's a track record that is starting to build up against David Stearns. This is now his third offseason since he became the president of baseball operations for the Mets. We knew after the 23 season, where the Mets traded Verlander and traded Scherzer at the deadline, that going to be kind of a weird kind of, transition year, and he didn't do a whole lot that offseason. The Mets kind of stunningly end up going to Game 6 of the NLCS in 2024. And then last offseason, obviously, they signed Juan Soto. They end up re-signing Sean Manaea, and then the deadline was a complete disaster. But now let's see what happens here, but not re-signing Edwin Diaz. It all depends on what the next move is, but it is a track record that is starting to build up against David Stearns. Even I, as one of the most staunch defenders of David Stearns, have to admit that. No doubt about it. Armand, hey, Tony, I want to know if Diaz went back to the Mets and asked them to match. I want to know, too. Unfortunately, I don't see any reports of it here. So Will was the one that broke it. Let's go and see what Will has to say on his page. Don't know if he has a report on it. But, yeah, it doesn't seem like it. Just 3 years is what they're hearing on it, and that's it. Yeah, nothing yet on Diaz and if he went back to the Mets to see if they would match that offer, or if the Mets maybe even had a higher total value offer, but a lower AAV. Like maybe they wanted to do 4 years, 70 million or 4 years, 75 million. And Diaz decided, well, I'll get it for 3 years here. And I could even potentially retest the market after that or sign another extension with the Dodgers in the future. So I'm not sure, but it is something that I'm keeping an eye on here on Twitter to see if we do find out that information. Let's see. RM1042, he wanted out, basically did what DeGrom did, not going back to the Mets for a counter offer. Yeah, it seems that way. And again, we don't know for sure if he did not go back to the Mets, but that's kind of how I'm reading the tea leaves here, is that he wanted out, is that the Mets probably never got an opportunity to match him, that they probably gave him an initial offer. He didn't think they would budge much from it. He didn't like it. And he got this offer from the Dodgers, and I think he just ran with it. I really think that's probably how it went. I agree with you, RM1042. Very reminiscent of how the DeGrom negotiations went down a couple off seasons ago between the Mets and Rangers as well. Kev Chowda, Williams was cost-cutting move to replace Diaz. Stearns was passive after signing Williams. Now, let's be fair. If Devin Williams does return to the form that he was in Milwaukee, he's equally as good, if not better, than Edwin Diaz. But two things. One, he's coming off a bad year with the Yankees where he definitely kind of got it together toward the end of the season. But two, this is not Milwaukee. This is New York. So, yeah, maybe he could return back to that Milwaukee form, or maybe he just can't pitch in a big market like this in New York. And for a season that is littered with questions, or rather off-season littered with questions surrounding this roster, surrounding this team, do they get back into the playoff fold next year? That is not something that I want to be wondering about. This was such an easy slam dunk move. Re-sign the known commodity in Edwin Diaz. Get the job done almost every time in the late innings of these games. And they let him go. And they not only let him go, but he is going to easily the best team in baseball that just got even better. So very frustrating. Damon, just like this organization to do something like this, never cease to disappoint. Diaz gone and Kyle stays with our rival, the Phils. Like I said, guys, this is like the hits just keep coming. I see the Philly news. I'm not that frustrated when I saw that Schwarber re-sign with the Phillies. I wasn't. I was like never expecting the Mets to actually be able to pry him away from Philadelphia. But 5 minutes later, to see the news about Edwin Diaz going to the Dodgers, I mean, just a brutal last hour for the Mets. And, they're left holding the bag, and not the good kind of bag as in money. The bag is in, where do we go next? Is it Suarez? Is it Fairbanks? Are we going to swing a trade for Trevor McGill? And that without even knowing what the situation is with Pete Alonso, who, oh, by the way, is probably right now at this moment holding meetings with the Orioles and the Boston Red Sox. It is not a good morning for the Mets. That's all I can say about it. Let's see. Kevchada Williams was cost. Oh, I'm sorry. I got to that one already. Benger 3705. Ella, did Stearns say they didn't match? There's no word on that yet. I'm refreshing Twitter because I want to know if there was an opportunity for the Mets to come back and either match or make a different offer to Edwin Diaz, but haven't heard anything about it. So it's very, very frustrating. I would have been very happy to have Edwin Diaz back at that price, but I don't know if he actually gave the Mets that opportunity. That's just how I'm reading it. I would say probably not. Damon Metro, if there's a time for the OMG signs, now is the time. OMG, yeah, OMG, shaking my head. How about that one? SMH, because this is not good news for us at all. 3705, yeah, Pete might just leave seeing all this Nimmo and Diaz crap. I mean, the core needed to be shaken up. I said that throughout the offseason, but this is it's harder when it actually happens. Of course, losing Brandon Nimmo, now Edwin Diaz is gone. Let's be fair, it's a core that never actually won anything for this organization, but Diaz seemed like that one piece you didn't want to lose, and he is gone. Let's see. Damon says Mets should have definitely kept Diaz. I agree. Again, I don't know if they got that opportunity to re-sign him or not. Kevchada, we were light years away from resembling World Series teams at this point. Hope lockout get a salary cap because we don't have a GM that knows how to spend money. Yeah, well, he obviously spent a lot of money on Juan Soto last year, but, nothing on Edwin Diaz here. And obviously he nickel and dime Pete Alonso to the last minute in 2025, last offseason. And now we'll see what happens with his negotiations this year as well. But Kev Chad, at this point, Cohen seems more interested in a casino. I don't believe that. I think it's cool that the casino is coming, and I do believe that was a main focus of Steve, but he's always willing to spend the money. And, it comes down to David Stearns and his front office assembling the team with the money they have. There are no financial restrictions on this team, and that's why I said earlier, the team that touts itself as the richest with the owner that's as ruthless as anybody and will spend to win on anything and anyone. I just am really surprised that they would not match this offer. And that's what leads me to believe that Edwin Diaz probably did not come back to the Mets and give them that opportunity. I am starting to believe that he probably saw this deal, didn't think the Mets were going to budge on their initial offer or not much to the point where he would be happy with it, and decided to just run with this contract from the Dodgers. So that's how I'm kind of taking things in at this point. M. Night Shyamalan, Diaz is off my MLB The Show Mets theme team. Yeah, he's gone. Mets did not match from the last article I read. Where was that article and who was it by, Shyamalan? I want to see that, and so I could bring it up on the screen. I'd really appreciate it if you could let me know where you saw that article. Damon, the Mets organization is like someone who has Parkinson's disease or dementia. They seem to forget, who did them good in the past, right? No jokes about that, obviously, but Alvin Solano, I'm not surprised because Stearns has done nothing but weak leadership from the start. Look, you can't field a team with a $500 million payroll every year. You can't cheat like the Dodgers do and give out deferred contracts to everybody. And I know everyone's going to say anyone could do it. Any team could do it. Let's be honest. It's total BS what they did with Ohtani. And that's what allows them to do a contract like they are doing right now for Edwin Diaz. But my point is here, you could spend crazy money every single year. It's not necessarily going to buy you anything. The Mets are going to have to find a way now to spend that money that they had earmarked and allocated toward bringing Edwin Diaz back on other ways to improve this roster. Part of it has to be bringing in another legitimate back-end reliever, Fairbanks or Schwarber, or trading for McGill or getting an ace. But they also need to improve this lineup. And that includes even just bringing Pete Alonso back, bringing back getting someone to replace Pete's production. So they need to find a creative way to spend this money that they had outlaid for Diaz to improve the rest of the roster now. Armand, if you're blaming Stearns for also blame Cohen. Cohen has final say like all MLB owners do on any signing and trade. No, yeah, that's true. But I think this is how it works, guys. I think this is how I personally believe that the relationship between Steve Cohen and David Stearns works. There is no monetary restrictions. Steve Cohen has told David Stearns, anything that you believe will get us closer to winning a World Series, I will give you the money to spend on them. I'd also like to stay below the luxury tax at some point, but not above winning a World Series. And I think David Stearns has his philosophies and has his belief of trying to build a sustainable winning culture, something that Steve Cohen said he wanted to do ever since he took over the team. And so I think Stearns works within those philosophies, works within those constraints of trying not to get bogged down by long-term contracts. And in the end, sometimes you're going to lose out on big name players like this. But I don't think it's fair to blame Steve Cohen. I really don't. Unless you want a meddling owner who, look, we're Jets fans, Armand, right? Do you want a Woody Johnson situation with Steve Cohen as the Mets owner? I certainly don't. So I think that Steve Cohen is simply the financier, where he will provide Stearns with any money that he needs if Stearns believes it's going to get them closer to winning a World Series. But Stearns is not from the mold of let's just throw money at anyone and everybody. We saw the Mets very aggressive after Yoshinobu Yamamoto because he was 25 years old, and they would have done that deal. But that's not the same case for 32-year-old Framber Valdez or 30-year-old number 3 starter Ranger Suarez this offseason. So Stearns has a philosophy, and he's going to stick with it. The Brewers have been a successful organization for years now. The Mets have the financial muscle, so he's trying to pair the two things together, and there's going to be times where this hurts, where we lose players like this, even though we have an attachment to them, even though they've proven to be successful here in New York. It's going to happen under this leadership. Let's see. The Mets suck from 3705. They need to do better. Shyamalan, Trevor McGill. Yeah, I mean, we will see. We heard that the Mets have reached out to the Brewers about Trevor McGill. Whether or not that comes to fruition or not, I don't know. But it'll be interesting to see how that pans out. Kev Chada, not even Epler would have allowed Diaz to go. Well, yeah, to be fair, Epler also signed Brandon Nimmo to an 8-year contract that had a $25 million figure on it every single season, and the Mets just traded him out. So, you know, there are a couple moves that Epler did not make. He also traded for Javi Baez. So, yeah, I don't know if you would prefer to have Epler running this team right now or if you'd rather have David Stearns, who, yeah, it hurts when we lose a guy like Diaz, but, you know, Epler wasn't exactly, you know, the best general manager himself either. Armand, I see Stearns signing Imai because he is 27 years old. I hope so, man. I think Tatsuya Imai would be a great signing. 27 years old. He's probably going to get around what the rest of the market's getting, 150 to 170, still less than what Dylan Cease just got. I would sign Tatsuya Imai yesterday, 100%. Kev Chada, objectivity. There's no way to excuse Stearns' incompetence. I feel the same way, 100%. I don't know if the Mets had the opportunity to match this offer for Edwin Diaz, but it's obviously very frustrating that they did not. Let's just see real quick. We'll do a Google search of Diaz. I don't know if he is going to end up, if there's going to be any articles here that give us any more information than what we already have from Twitter, but Will Salmon is the one that broke this news. So here is Salmon's article on Diaz. The Athletic is live coverage. Okay, the LA Dodgers are loading up again, signing the top closer on the market Tuesday. The team agreed to a 3-year, $69 million deal with the 3-time All-Star Edwin Diaz. $23 million AAV is a new record for a reliever, topping the mark Diaz set himself back in 2022 with the Mets 5 years, $102.5 million. Deferrals took the present-day value of that deal below $95 million, and he opted out with 2 years left on that contract to re-enter the market. Right, we know that. So let's see. It doesn't say anything about the Mets getting an opportunity to re-sign him or to match that offer. So we don't have any news on that, not at least at the moment. I know that Shyamalan said he saw in an article that the Mets did not have that opportunity. I'm refreshing Twitter just to see if there is any news on that, but I have not seen anything stating that. So let's see. Nothing right now at the moment. Here's what Andy Martino has to say. Clearly, David Stearns is ambitious about winning, and this is one piece of a larger plan. We don't know the whole plan yet. We're hearing all kinds of things on what the Mets might be up to at the winter meetings. I'm not so worried about the Mets being a worse team because they lost Diaz. They're smart people. They'll probably figure that out. But I'm certainly acknowledging that that's a tough player for fans to say goodbye to. Yeah. So, I mean, look, pretty much exactly what I just said. Like, let's see what the rest of the plan is this offseason. Not excusing Stearns. If the Mets didn't have that opportunity to match him, you can't really blame Stearns other than the fact that maybe they drew a line in the sand that was just too strong for Diaz to ever think he'd get more than what they initially offered. But let's see what the rest of the plan is here. But yes, tough to lose a player who, not homegrown, obviously, spent the first few years in Seattle, but a guy that really grew up in front of our eyes and continued to be one of the best closers in baseball despite some early bumps here with the Mets. Armand says, per Morosi, Mets and Jays are top suitors for Robert Suarez. Oh, great. That'll be a nice constellation. This reminds me a lot of the 2023 offseason. After the Mets lost Jacob deGrom to the Rangers, they signed Justin Verlander a couple days later, and I just said, great, I don't care. I don't care. And deGrom's a little bit different, and admittedly, he had those injury issues and barely pitched in those 2 seasons before leaving for Texas. But I just had this weird feeling in my stomach that the Mets were not going to be a good team entering 2023 after losing Jacob deGrom, despite signing Justin Verlander, despite getting the bridesmaid of the offseason in Verlander instead of re-signing Jacob deGrom. And that's how I'm going to feel about Robert Suarez and how I'm going to feel about potentially Pete Fairbanks in the wake of losing Edwin Diaz. So great they're after Robert Suarez. They have to be, but we'll see if it's going to be better than what we already had in Edwin Diaz. And I think it's hard to say that it will be. Stearns is ripping the heart out of the Mets fan base, says Randy. Yeah, well, the one thing I will say is this team never won anything with the team that was currently assembled. The core of Diaz and Nimmo and Pete and Francisco Lindor, Jeff McNeil, all those guys. So the only thing I can say is if you can lose with them, they can lose without them. So As much as it sucks to lose Diaz, as much as it sucks to see Brandon Nimmo traded, it's a new era of Mets baseball. And whether it's going to be better or worse, I don't know at this moment. The offseason is not complete, but obviously this is a big hit. Kev Chowder, no way I'm going to Citi Field. Hurt them in their pockets. No attendance. Yep. Well, this could all change, guys. This could all change. They could swing a trade for Fernando Tatis Jr. They could swing a big signing for Tatsuya Amai and bring in Akamoto, re-sign Pete Alonso, or sign Cody Bellinger, and maybe we change our tune. There are a lot of ways that the Mets can get out from under the thumb of Mets fans right now by making some big additions, whether it's trade or free agency. But at this current moment right now, like I've said here many times in this stream, this is a bad hour for the Mets. This is a really bad hour for the Mets. To see Kyle Schwarber re-sign with the Phillies, one of the big names off the board, and then pretty much right on the heels of that, see Edwin Diaz depart for the Dodgers. It is a bad morning for the Mets. No way around it. 3705 to me, he wanted to go to the Dodgers because Dodgers weren't going to give him, I don't know. To me, he wanted to go Dodgers because Dodgers wasn't going to give him more. I guess, yeah. I think that the Dodgers gave him that offer. He saw that it was a record breaker for AAV, and he jumped on it. So I'm with you. Randy, Mets are going to run a bunch of bums out there. I hope not. I can't take another bad season of Mets baseball. Alvin Solano, Diaz is a big chess piece off the board. The Dodgers play for keeps. Shaking my head. Yeah, he is. And maybe you get pretty comparable performance out of a mix of Devin Williams and Pete Fairbanks or Robert Suarez, or maybe they do trade for Trevor McGill. But like I have said here a lot, you had the known commodity in Edwin Diaz. There was no need to wonder what he was going to be. Obviously, like I've said, relievers up and down, very volatile year to year, but this guy's been here 6 seasons now, and he's gone. So, Kev Chowd, I've been saying Stearns kept Mendoza because Stearns didn't want to be on the hot seat. Prove me wrong. That is a good point. You fire Mendoza, and then all of a sudden, well, who's the next person to get fired if things don't look good this upcoming season? That is very possible. Very, very astute point by you there, Kev Chada. No doubt. I don't know who was in that decision making. I don't know if it was David Stearns and Steve Cohen, or if it was simply just David Stearns who made the decision to keep Carlos Mendoza as the manager for 2026. I'm not sure. But that is a very good point. Who's next? Who's next on the chopping block? If this season got off to a bad start as well, obviously it would be David Stearns if Steve Cohen was losing his patience. So that is a very good point by you. No doubt about it. Let's see. Kev Chada says, Tatis, he's steroid years that always going to be tempted to juice again. I don't know if he's going to be tempted to juice again, but I do know he's a platinum Gold Glove winner in right field. And his contract at the same age as Juan Soto was looking like a bargain compared to what Soto just signed for with the Mets. And I don't think he's actually going to get traded, but obviously it's something to talk about with the Padres and their whole ownership turmoil. So I'm just throwing names out there. Obviously, I don't really think that's going to happen, but that would definitely change our tune if the Mets were to swing for a big trade like that, right? Jimmy James Stearns needs to get off this slow and patient approach. Same thing happened before the trade deadline when the team was free falling. Yeah, I hear you, man. We all want the moves to happen now, fast, quick, but unfortunately, sometimes you let the market pass you by. And this might be the case here with Stearns. It may not be. Again, it might be that Diaz just was ready to leave and go to LA. He got a good offer and that was it. But I don't know. This is, I don't know. Not something I really was expecting to hear this morning. Look, if Diaz is signed with the Dodgers, it was 5 years and $100 million. I'd be like, okay, look, that's disappointing, but I can understand why the Mets didn't want to go to that, to those lengths. But this is a deal that I thought would be right in the Mets' wheelhouse. So, Elvin says, it's the Dodgers and not the Yankees who are the big brothers of the Mets. I mean, the Dodgers get anything they want, right? The Dodgers just get whatever they want. Armand, Joel Sherman Mets offer was $66 million with modes deferrals. Ooh, okay, so let's see what that has to say. I don't know what modes deferral. I think that was a typo by you there, Armand, but I appreciate you telling me that. So Joel Sherman, let's see what he has to say. I don't know if it was in a tweet. Mets expressed that there was wiggle room to go higher, but Diaz went to the Dodgers. Okay, so Mets offer for Edwin was 3 years at $66 million with modest deferrals, according to a source. I mean, it just sounds to me like Edwin Diaz was ready for a new chapter in his career, that he was ready to go to the Dodgers. That's really what it's telling me. I don't see how the Mets couldn't have even made this 3 years, $74 million, $75 million with deferrals. I don't know. I would have went up from the Dodgers offer if I was the Mets, but they tried to do the Dodgers game and do deferrals like they like to do, and unfortunately it doesn't work, and it sounds like the Dodgers are getting their guy without even having to use any deferred money. So it just blows up in the Mets' face, unfortunately. This is a very, very frustrating morning for me, no doubt, and I'm sure a lot of you guys are feeling the same kind of way, right? Let's see. Kevchada, one would think Stearns was going to be aggressive after having an awful offseason and trade deadline. Yeah. I mean, you would think so, right? At the same time, you don't want to outbid yourself. So you do have to kind of allow the market to play out to a certain degree, but then you also need to know when to strike, when the iron is hot. And that does not appear to be the case here with the Mets. Says, hey, it's great you got Devin Williams, but this is a perfect example of what I've been saying here. This is the Mets bullpen right now, and this doesn't even have it right. But Devin Williams, Huascar Brazoban, Cooper Criswell, who they just acquired from the Red Sox, total scrub. Reed Garrett, who's missing all of 2026 after Tommy John surgery. Joey Gerber, who they signed to a minor league deal. Justin Hagenman, Richard Lovelady, and AJ Minter coming off his torn lat muscle. Not to mention Deno Nunez coming back from another injury. Dylan Ross, who's never stepped foot on a big league mound. And Austin Warren, another one of the Uber driver relievers. This is not good. The Mets have their work cut out for them in the bullpen, and they better make some moves fast. They have better be ready to make some moves because this is unacceptable. This is worse than last year's bullpen by far. It's not even close. Tatsuya Edwin used the Mets as leverage. Won't be surprised. Has happened in the past to the Mets, and it will happen again in the future. Armand, maybe if they got rid of deferrals, Diaz comes back. Maybe. I think they probably would have had to match the Dodgers or done better no matter what. But if you got rid of the deferrals, no doubt, that would definitely have helped the case of him returning to Queens. Kevchada, I don't mind a full-year lockout. Can't see MLB seeing the Dodgers sign everyone good. Yeah, no, of course. It's okay if the Dodgers do it, but when Steve Cohen came into ownership of the Mets, let's make the Cohen tax. Yeah, no, but the Dodgers do it. No, the Golden Boys of the MLB, no problems there. Absolutely no problems there if the Dodgers want to do it. But when Steve Cohen comes in and starts to throw his weight around, we're going to institute a tax. But the Dodgers will find a way around it with deferrals, and all is okay. All right, for sure. Yeah, I think Diaz ended up just deciding he was ready to move on and go to the Dodgers. Hey, Gabe, what's up, man? Good to see you in here. Appreciate you. 3705, that's not really the Mets' fault. No, I mean, I would have liked to see them at least match 3 years, 69, and then made it, truly the ball in Edwin Diaz's court. But they went 3 years, $3 million less on the total value of the deal. And they had deferrals in there. So it was not as good of an offer as what he got from Los Angeles. So I don't know if Diaz went back with that offer. I don't know if Diaz went to the Dodgers with the Mets offer and they gave him an increase in AAV and without deferred money. That could be the case as well. So we will find out as it unravels here, guys. Keep it tuned to the channel. Subscribe if you're not already. Daily Mets content, updates on everything they do this winter. This is not a great update, obviously, but leave this video a like if you have not already. Really appreciate that. Trying to get to that goal of 4K subscribers by the end of 2025. We only got a couple weeks left, but would be an amazing Christmas present. So really appreciate that from you guys. And the way you can help me with that, even if you are already subscribed, is by leaving a like on this video and sharing this with your friends and your family, Mets fans, baseball fans, mom, dad, brother, sister, cousins, whomever in your life that enjoys talking Major League Baseball and, of course, the New York Mets. So thank you so much to you guys very much. Let's see. 3705. I still believe things can be done. Let's be patient, fam. Yeah, no, there's definitely moves to be made out there. We have heard that the Mets have reached out to Pete Fairbanks and Robert Suarez's camp. We've heard that they are actually among the top suitors along with the Blue Jays for Suarez's services. We also heard just last night the Mets have reached out to the Brewers regarding Trevor McGill. So maybe an opportunity to land him as a back inning option along with Devin Williams, who's already here in the bullpen. And then, of course, it might open the table for them or open the door for them to make a trade for Freddie Peralta as well, who, of course, we really would need. Let's see. Damon. Thanks, Metro. No, thank you, Damon. Appreciate you, man. Thank you so much for tuning in and always being a loyal subscriber, commenting, and leaving likes on all my videos here. Tatsuya, I don't blame Edwin for leaving. Team direction is poor. The team direction is definitely up in the air right now. We don't truly know. That is for sure. Obviously, you have a payroll that is as committed as this one is. You expect to be winning, especially on the heels of signing Juan Soto to that massive deal. But after the way last season ended, with Pete Alonso as a free agent, after trading Brandon Nimmo, now with Edwin Diaz gone, it is very difficult to truly understand or get a feel for where this team is headed. They can state what direction they want to go in. That doesn't mean they're going that way. And right now it looks like the Mets are trending down, without a doubt. Kev Chada, seems Diaz might have been pissed that Stearns going through negotiations with Stearns. Maybe it's possible these guys can get pretty, emotional and take things personally. It's very possible, but this is very disappointing that the Mets were unable to come to terms with a guy that they have known now for a number of years, that they already re-signed once. Those opt-outs obviously gave Diaz the ability to retest the market, and he cashes in once again. And it's a deal that I thought the Mets would be capable of matching, but either they decided that it wasn't a good deal to do that, or Diaz decided that he was ready to move on. So, guys, I'm going to make some more content here for you. We're going to be pumping out videos all day. We're going to talk about this one. We are going to talk about Schwarber to the Phillies, how that impacts the Mets and their pursuit to re-sign Pete Alonso. But thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. We're going to wrap it up here, but really, really appreciate y'all being here. Leave a like on your way out. Be sure to subscribe to the channel, daily Mets content, keep you up to date on all of their moves this whole winter during the offseason. So thank you once again for tuning in. The big news, Diaz gone. We didn't really touch on Schwarber, but I am going to post some more stuff here throughout the day and the evening, maybe even go live again later tonight if there's more big news regarding the MLB winter meetings and the New York Mets. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. Have a great rest of your day, but keep it tuned to the channel for all the latest updates on the moves here at the winter meeting. So that's going to do it for right now. Till next time, I'm Tony Metro. Stay true to the orange and blue.